Hi, how are you? So good to be here again with our second book. And I'm really happy. It's because I really enjoyed the last story session. And so I think this is going to be some fun. So today, Auntie Vina, me, has picked Alfie, The Adventures of Alfie by Shirley Hughes. And this book's journey is seeing Alfie gets in first. I wonder what he's going to get into first. Should we find out? I think we should find out. Alfie Gets In First by Shirley Hughes. I didn't even ask. Are you all sitting down? Have you got a drink? Have you got your snacks? Are you all ready? Then let's begin. One day, Alfie and Mum and Annie Rose were coming home from the shops. Alfie ran on ahead because he wanted to get home first. He ran all the way from the corner to the front gate and up the steps to the front door. Look at his speedy legs go. Look how quick he is. Go, go, Alfie, go. And you see Mummy and Annie Rose behind him. Speedy. Then he sat down on the top step and waited for the others. Along came Mum, pushing Annie Rose and the shopping. I raced you, called Alfie. I'm back first. So, there. Annie Rose didn't care. She was tired. She sat back in her pushchair and sucked her thumb. Mum put the brake on the pushchair and left Annie Rose at the bottom of the steps while she lifted the basket of shopping up to the top. Then she found the key and opened the front door. Alfie dashed in ahead of her. I've won! I've won! He shouted. Mum put the shopping down in the hall and went back down the steps to lift Annie Rose out of her pushchair. But what do you think Alfie did then? What do you think Alfie did? Let's see. Boom! He gave the door a great big slam. Bang! Just like that. Then Mum was outside the door holding Annie Rose, and Alfie was inside with the shopping. Mum's key was inside too. Open the door, Alfie, said Mum. But Alfie didn't know how to open the door from the inside. The catch was too high. Mum looked into the letterbox. Try to reach the catch and turn it, she said. Alfie tried, but he couldn't quite reach it. Can you put the key through the letterbox? Said Mum. But Alfie couldn't reach the letterbox either. Look at that. Oh dear. Annie Rose was hungry as well as tired. She began to cry. Then Alfie began to cry too. He didn't like being all by himself on the wrong side of the door. Just then, Mrs. McNally came hurrying across the street to see what all the noise was about. There's Mrs. McNally coming over. And there's Annie Rose and Alfie looking very, very unhappy. Let's see. She and Mum took it in turns to say encouraging things into the letterbox. But Alfie still couldn't open the door. What do you think they're saying? Things like, come on, Alfie, you can do it. Come on, Alfie, just stretch, Alfie. Don't worry, Alfie. We'll come and help you soon. Go and fetch your little chair from the sitting room, and then you'll be able to reach the catch, said Mum. But Alfie didn't try to fetch his little chair. He just went on crying louder and louder, and Annie Rose cried louder and louder. There's my Maureen, said Mrs. McNally. I'm sure she'll be able to help. Oh, look at their sad little faces. Mrs. McNally's Maureen was a big girl. Right away she came and joined Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally on the top step. Might have to break a window, she said. But I'll try to climb up the drain pipe first if you like. But Mrs. McNally didn't like the idea of that at all. Oh no, Maureen, you might hurt yourself, she said. Just then, Alfie's very good friend the milkman came up the street in his milk float. Here he's coming. There's poor Alfie looking very distressed. When he saw Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally and Mrs. McNally's Maureen all standing on the top step, he stopped his float and said, "What's the trouble?" So they told him. "Don't worry, mate," the milkman shouted. "We'll soon have you out of there." Aww. It's nice how everybody's very friendly, isn't it? Where's Alfie off to? Is he going? Looks as though this lock's going to be difficult to break, said the milkman. But then Mrs. McNally's Maureen had a very good idea. She ran to ask the window cleaner, who was working up the street, if he would bring his ladder and climb up to the bathroom window. And, of course, when the window cleaner heard about Alfie, he came hurrying along with his ladder as quickly as he could. There's Alfie, and look at all the people wanting to help. That is lovely when everybody wants to come together and help, isn't it? Then Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally and Mrs. McNally's Maureen and the milkman all stood on the top step and watched while the window cleaner put his ladder up against the house. He started to climb up to the bathroom window. But when he was halfway up the ladder, what do you think happened? Look at him, he's up the ladder. What's Alfie up to? Let's see. The front door suddenly opened and there was Alfie. He had managed to reach the catch and turn it. Like that, after all. He was very pleased with himself. He opened the front door as wide as it would go and stood back grandly to let everybody in. Then, I didn't show you proud Alfie, did I? Look at his happy, his chest is up, his face is content, and there's everybody on the top step, all looking in surprise. Then the window cleaner came down from his ladder, and he and the milkman and Mrs. McNally's Maureen and Mrs. McNally and Annie Rose and Mum and Alfie all went to the kitchen and had tea together. Isn't that lovely? Oh. Let's see. And there they are waving everybody bye-bye. Alfie gets in first. Well, Alfie, you did get in first, but what is the lesson that we've all learnt from Alfie's experience? Yes, we have to wait for Mummy or Daddy or the adult or the person looking after us before we go inside, because Alfie was very lucky and we don't want to be on the wrong side of the door, do we? No, we don't. So patience, and we wait for those who are looking after us. But everybody was so lovely. All the nice people coming to help. That was fantastic. And I'm sure in wherever you are, there's lots of people who would be very quickly on hand to help in any situation. So did you enjoy Alfie today? I did. Alfie's fun, and I'm sure we're going to find more Alfie stories that we'll read over the next few weeks. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I really look forward to spending time with you again. Bye from Auntie Vina.